In this video, I'll be showing you how to upgrade Esko's automation engine version 18.0.1 to version 18.1. So let's first head on over to our automation engine server admin. We can see that our current server version is 18.0.1. Upon upgrade, we should see we have the new version. Prior to upgrading, the first couple things I'm going to do is I'm going to run some maintenance on the automation engine database. This is just going to go through and rebuild all the indexes of the databases that automation engine uses to ensure that they are working the most efficient possible for the system. Once the maintenance is completed, I will come in and perform a backup on the system. It is recommended that you add a backup schedule to do your daily or weekly backups. For this instance, I just ran an immediate backup to ensure that my system will be the most current to date after upgrading the system in case anything were to go wrong. Once you've performed some maintenance, backed up your system, and now you're ready to upgrade, the first thing I would do is check out the system requirements for the latest release to ensure that your system can support the new software. So if you head on over to Esko.com, under the support panel, you can go to System Requirements, Automation Engine, and 18.1 System Requirements Server. This is going to list all the Esko recommendations for what your server needs to optimally run the software. So I've downloaded the new ISO file from mysoftware.esko.com. I just have it on my desktop, but you can have it anywhere on the system. If you're on a latest operating system, you'll be able to double click and mount the file. We have a setup file here. I'm going to right click and hit run as administrator. Run as administrator should ensure that the installer has the proper permissions to install the software. I'm going to choose English as my installer and proceed to the installation. For this, we're going to be doing a new install of Automation Engine Master Server. Let's click on Install. The first thing you need to do is run the Automation Engine System Readiness check. This is just going to go through and ensure that your system meets the requirements to run the software. All right, it looks like my system has passed. Next, let's install the updated license server components. This is just going to walk us through the guide on installing the new version of the Network License Manager. I can see I already have a product that's installed, but we want to update it to the latest version. Just going to give you a disclaimer that your license server is going to be restarted. You can continue to wait the 5 seconds or just force it through by clicking continue. All right. So our new Network License Manager 18.1 has been installed. After you've installed it, you need to activate the new licenses for Automation Engine 18.1 provided to you by Esko. I'm going to exclude this portion from the video. Once you've activated your new licenses, let's continue with the prerequisite components. This is an important step not to forget when updating your automation engine. Select on our Install the Prerequisite Components. It's going to ask if you want to continue. Yes. What this is going to do, and just go through and check to make sure that your system meets all the required components for Automation Engine. If not, it will automatically install any necessary components, as well as it's going to perform a license check to make sure you have the necessary license for version 18.1. If you haven't installed the updated licenses, you will get a warning stating that you cannot move forward. Depending on the amount of components that are required, this may or may not take a long period of time. Let's make sure we install the CADX component. It is common that you will see the Ardios CAD component 16.1.1 does not match up with Automation Engine.1. No harm there, just continue with the installer. There is no finish icon here. You just need to click exit and it's going to continue to now install the next CADX component. All right, so it looks like our prerequisite components have finished. Let's select exit Now we can begin to click our Install Automation Engine 18.1. Let's walk through the installation wizard. It's just going to perform a check to make sure that it has all the prerequisite components installed. Accept the license agreement. Now we can see the components that it's either going to install new versions of or upgrade existing versions. Select Next. Let's validate what destination folder we want to install on. So I would check in your computer settings to see which drive the original automation engine was installed on. Typically, it should be on a drive other than the C drive. I can see that my Esko folder is installed on my D. So I need to go in here. I'm just going to change C to D, apply to all. Now my destinations have changed, and select Next to upgrade Automation Engine. It's going to give us just a quick overview which components are going to be updated and which components will be installed fresh. The installer is just going to go through some validation checks to make sure that the prerequisites and licenses are present. It's going to give you an installation check that says which versions of Automation Engine have previously been installed, as well if any were running. It says an Automation Engine 18.0 backup was found. It will be possible to return to 18.1 after. So I'm going to click yes to accept this backup and no if I wanted to create a new backup first. If I click no, I would need to go back to the server administrator and do so. If you have any users logged into the system, it'll also give you a notification here that people are currently logged in, and it will either wait for those users to log off, or you can force them to log off through the installer. Now the installer is currently shutting down the existing Automation Engine services running on the server. This may take a few moments to do so. You can continue to force the installer by clicking Continue Now, or just let the timing interval go through. I'm going to let it just go through the timing interval just so I can read what is going on in the installer. Now our installer is going to begin to upgrade and install existing and new components. All right, so I can see that the installer is finishing up its tasks here. It's installed all the components. I can click Finish on the installer. The next thing I'm going to do is it probably installed an Automation Engine 18.1 client apps icon on the desktop. This is just going to take me to my server admin page. From here, I'm going to download the new client application. So this is our pilot. If I head on over to server admin, log in as an administrator user, I can see that the server version has now been upgraded from 18.0.1 to 18.1.0. Let's close this page. It should have downloaded my pilot. Just run this as the administrator to install. Make sure this is in the D drive also, the same as my Automation Engine installer. All right, so let's try to log into Automation Engine through the pilot. So what I'm going to do here first is I'm going to click on the 18.0.pilot. I'm going to try and log in. It's going to give me a warning here saying that this version of the client doesn't match the version on the server. So here, this is why it is important to make sure you install the new version of the client. I'm just going to remove this icon from the desktop. And now I'll use my 18.1 pilot. All right, it let me log in with success. So I recommend running some workflows and validating that your system is operational in case you need to roll back to a previous version and a previous backup. From here on out, you can continue to install the latest version of Imaging Engine or PackProof if you have those softwares as well. In the meantime, now that my system is operational, I'm going to return back to the installer. And what I want to do is I'm going to uninstall some previous versions of my automation engine just to clean up my system. So I know I have a version 18.0 installed. If you had a previous 16 or 14, you could use these uninstallers as well. This is just going to go through and remove any and previous unused components. This will free up some disk space on my system, as well as ensure that I don't have any loose files hanging around. So it's going to give me a warning, and this is just saying it's unable to delete the desktop icon for the pilot, as well as shuttle. Now it's going to remove my version 18.0 automation engine system, since we have installed version 18.1. Same thing here, unable to remove a desktop icon, nothing to be alarmed about. It's going to remove my Curve Pilot 18.0, as it should have installed a new version of 18.1. And my uninstallation wizard is complete. Last thing I'm going to do is eject the ISO and remove the ISO from the system. You can choose to keep this if you'd like. I'm going to remove it as I have it stored on a network share elsewhere. And this way I can make sure that I still have enough disk space to run the software. And that's how you can upgrade Automation Engine version 18.0.1 to the latest of 18.1.